Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm going to try my best to be super respectful today. Super
Yes.
mournful. Do you know what I didn't do, which I should have done?
What's that?
Worn black. That's the official...
I didn't plan it.
That's the official... Your wardrobe's just 90% black.
Well,
and
as
it
you
just
know,
worked out.
I like my soul like I like a storyline. Dark.
I've heard.
So I dress appropriately.
And you have. And it's sort of... What does your shirt say, though?
What if I say I'm not like the others? Yeah.
Appropriate, because the Monarch really isn't like the others.
No. What if I say I'm just not another one?
I would agree. I'd say you're above the rest.
In your games, you're a pretender.
Solid foos.
Yeah.
Work there. Is that really respectful? Does that fit the tone?
Well, they just had a tribute concert for their fallen comrade. So
And not once did they mention the Queen. Queen,
they did it
sure,
in Wembley,
they mentioned Queen.
First night was in Wembley.
First night was in Wembley, and then they're going to, like, I presume LA, somewhere in
Yeah,
America.
I mean, they've got to go to America at some point.
They are doing one in America, yeah.
Yeah,
But that's not who we're here to mourn.
Yeah, that's fair. We're here to mourn the Queen, everyone. Queen Lizzie II.
Do you want to...
For anyone not watching on YouTube, me and Jake just stood and saluted and then put our fists over our hearts. And I know I speak for everyone here at Crossing Swords and for all of our fans. And I mean, I'm the ideas man. I get to speak for us. That's part of the deal. I know I speak for our football correspondent Ash, and for anyone associated with us when I say Rippers. Domino Spiritu Sancti.
The proper Rippers. I mean, she wouldn't like that.
I think she would have.
Or head of the Protestant church.
Getting she was friendly with the Pope.
She was friendly with the Pope. She wanted blessing her.
Yeah, I reckon
she
got
blessed. She's like her own Pope.
I reckon she got blessed.
Yeah, but like not officially. She would never have accepted the blessing.
No, I mean, it's a bit like when she went to Ireland to see the set of Game of Thrones. They tried to get her to sit down on the Iron Throne, and she was like, no, like, legit, I can't.
Yeah, she's only allowed to sit on the one throne, yeah.
Well, no, because because if she sits on a throne in a foreign land, it's her officially claiming that land as hers. So, she just can't do it.
Which would have been funny, though.
Yeah, it would have been funny, the Queen going to Ireland and being like, this is mine.
And then a huge legal dispute of whether she claimed Westeros or whether she claimed Ireland.
Which kingdom was it?
Oh, how good would that? How redeeming would the final episode of Game of Thrones been
if
the Queen just turned up and went, this is bitch.
Yeah. I mean, that's a weird way to be respectful of the Queen, having this conversation, I feel. But look, it's how we've said this all along. This is how we deal with grief here at Crossing Swords, with humour. And
well, let me ask this though, in all seriousness, are you grieving?
I wouldn't say I'm grieving. I was sad when I heard the news. And I think, no, I'm not grieving. No. What about yourself?
No, I've found it very odd. When the news was announced, when the news broke, I was really, really indifferent to it. And I remember thinking, I feel like I should feel more.
Yeah.
Because, not so much because of the death of the Queen, but because it's this huge, momentous incident. It's this huge moment in history. It is very historic, and it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
And it's the death of the longest running monarch
we've ever had.
And so there's kind of, I felt like it should be more, but I just felt really indifferent to it. Like I did not have feelings one way or the other.
I don't think that's unfair. We're not related to the woman. We've never met
No, it's just
her.
Like some night. I like the Queen. I've got nothing against.
Necessarily have a personal attachment to her.
No, I've got nothing against her as a person.
Yeah.
As her position, sure, there's questions over that, on my stance on that. But
okay, well, we can get into that.
As a person, she always seemed like she was good-humoured and dealt fine with the life she dealt, apart from the Andrew thing.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think she worked incredibly hard over the years, and I think that was epitomised by the fact by 2 days, was it, before she passed away, she was swearing in a new Prime Minister.
I think that's what happened. She just sort of went, I can't deal with another in 12 years of this shit.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm outie.
I mean, you won't hear me say this very often over however long she is our Prime Minister. I felt a little bit for Liz Truss in that situation, being like, oh, shit, this ain't good.
Killed the Queen.
In office,
Killed the Queen.
Queen's dead. I mean,
Thing is, no, first day in office, killed the Queen, bad PR. First day in office, Queen's dead, great, because you can do whatever the fuck you want, and everything's going to be about the Queen.
Liz Truss is the answer to a niche question in 30 years' time at your local pub at a quiz, isn't it? Who was the last Prime Minister for Queen Elizabeth II? And people are like, oh, wasn't it Boris? Oh, no, who was that between him and Sir Keir Starmer?
Yeah, well, let's hope, right?
Yeah, but yeah.
It'd be, it's...
So she's a trivia question waiting to happen. And that'll probably
for
be
many other
her
reasons.
biggest
And for many other
achievement as
reasons.
Prime Minister.
She's such a clusterfuck of a human being that she could probably be her own quiz round.
It's amazing that they had a Prime Minister like Boris Johnson, a leader of their party, who famously bumbled his way through everything he's ever done and went, I think we can do worse than this.
100%. They were like, let's see how far we can push the British public.
I mean, she feels essentially a female version of Boris Johnson. She just has less affairs.
And less charisma.
Yes, definitely much less charisma.
I mean, like, her first PMQs,
yeah.
and you won't hear me give her credit because I still think she's an embarrassment of a politician and a leader. But she actually attempted to answer the questions that were put to her. Like, it wasn't just about sound bites and jibes and taking digs at people. It was genuine attempts to answer some of the questions.
When she was trying to be funny when I watched it, it felt cringe.
In my head,
it was so like... She was trying to do dad jokes.
Like I have referred to her several times as Liz pause for applause Truss.
Yeah.
Because she
this is what she'd say to that.
That is a disgrace.
And then she paused. And the brilliant thing is, in that speech, one of my all-time favourite speeches, by the way, if they ever do a compilation CD of political speeches, I hope that's the like the lead track on the album.
And she followed it up with,
I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
Which, funny enough, the last time I tried to organise a podcast recording session with you, it's what you told me.
Yeah.
So are you having an affair with Liz Truss?
Well, I was surprised I didn't get the call when she became PM to say you're going to come and be my Secretary of State.
Secretary for State for
so
pork.
I could go and open up those pork markets, not just in Beijing.
There's an innuendo there waiting
Taiwan, free Tibet.
A Secretary of State for pork. That is the affair minister, if ever I've heard one.
What, that I'd be having an affair?
But yeah, if you're the Secretary of State for pork.
But why would that mean I'm instantly having an affair?
Because pork means penis.
I mean, Leanne listens to this, bro. What are you trying to do to me?
Listen, bro, I'm not listening. You're all right, okay? Kwasi Kwarteng's going to take all the hit on sleeping with Liz Truss. You're in the dark about it.
Can we talk about it for a second? I feel like we're jumping the gun because I thought we would talk about Liz Truss.
The Queen.
Sorry, the Queen. No, but while we're on it, because it's in the theme of it, since the Queen's death, Liz Truss has squeezed through some things that are less than savoury.
Questionable, for sure.
One of them being approving fracking throughout the country when it had been previously outlawed.
Lift on the bankers' bonuses.
And then, yesterday or today, I can't remember when it was announced, that
recently,
Kwasi Kwarteng, our new Chancellor of the Exchequer, was abolishing the cap on bankers' bonuses because they've been struggling, guys, too.
And you know what? It's so funny that Liz Truss, the former Shell employee, abolished fracking, and that Kwasi Kwarteng, the former banker, abolished the cap on banking.
Well, that and
bonuses.
the fact I'd imagine the oil companies donate money to the Conservatives.
A lot of money in that.
Yeah.
But sorry. Let's circle it back to the Queen, Liz Truss. Did you see her bowing?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's brilliant. Someone's managed to... It looks like she kind of just does... I mean, I'll try and do it justice on YouTube, but this is her curtsying. No, she doesn't bow. She curtsies.
Yeah.
No, hang on. That's it. And what it does is someone's just taken the footage and it's as if she's like nodding a football down, just gently prodding it back in the path of someone.
I hope she dipped a bit more than you did.
She did not.
Because you dipped like maybe half an inch.
She did not. You're going to have to look it up. Like, if people listening, look it up. Liz Truss curtsy. Just go to like social media and Google it. Google it on social media. But yeah.
Were you surprised by the death of the Queen?
A little bit. part of me, I guess, thought she was just never going to die.
People keep
I
saying
had this,
that.
I had this image in my head where she'd become a bit like. Do you remember that period where Chuck Norris just became like the internet's favourite? Everything Chuck, water scared.
When Chuck Norris fell out of the boat, the water. He didn't drown.
He hit the water.
The water was too afraid of him.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So like, I kind of felt like the Queen had built up a reputation like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, dude, she was 96, and as we sort of discussed, like, it's not uncommon for people when they lose their partners
to die of grief.
Certainly when they're old, to give out within a couple of years. Were you surprised?
No. To be honest with you, for the last couple of years,
You've been waiting.
I've been assuming it was coming, because suddenly she went from slowly scaling back her duties to massively scaling back her duties, and it was like, well, yeah, she's in her 90s, that makes sense. Her health's declining, and then, to be honest, on the day when she died, before it got announced, me and my sister were on the phone talking about it, and she says, "Oh my God, she's going to die, isn't she?" And I was like, "It looks that way," and it turns out she was already passed away.
Don't want to get into the conspiracies.
Yeah.
Do you think she died when they announced it, or do you think she died the day before, or certainly 12 hours or so before?
I definitely think she died earlier than they tell us, because I think she was probably dead when Charles and Williams arrived at Balmoral. I think she was probably already gone then and had been for a little while. And then that was sort of confirmed when you heard even Harry and Meghan were going there. You were like, oh, okay. And then the thing that gave it away, and I sort of thought the BBC were a bit stupid for making the mistake, was when they were closing off the show to say, oh, we're suspending, which on its own is enough of an indicator something's going on, till 6 o'clock. The guy who was presenting went from having a coloured tie to black, and it was like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, and also there was all that hubbub, obviously, in Parliament at the end of PMQs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it.
No, I didn't.
Where some piece of information was quietly whispered to the Prime Minister.
Oh no, I have seen that.
And then there was a kind of rumbling throughout the Commons, and then it kind of they left, and it was all very sombre and very.
Yeah. I think.
So again, there's a hierarchy of who gets told and when they get told.
The sense I make of it was she was in quite good health a couple of days earlier. I think she perhaps either had a sudden decline through something like a stroke or something similar, and just that was sort of it, unfortunately. And I think because of that, nothing was sort of, Parliament weren't prepped for it, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, possibly.
Especially the fact the family weren't around, because if she'd been ill in the run-up, they would have already
been there.
Yeah,
possibly. Equally, then again, you know, they might not have been because of the media hubbub that would have come from it.
I guess so.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
It seemed really odd to me that they put out a message. Was it the day before or on the day?
On the day. So around about lunchtime, they put out the message saying that she was under medical supervision.
But it's pretty widely.
Everyone thought that she was dead at that point.
Yeah.
Because the palace just don't announce things.
No, and that was what seemed very odd to me. Why release that if she is? Because
it was their way of prepping the media without telling the media she's dead.
They don't normally do that sort of thing, though, do they?
It was just telling the media to start calling all your staff in.
Yeah, you're going to
sorting out your schedules.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
But then, my God, like, no disrespect to the Queen. Like I said, the few stories I've heard of her, and there's been some great stories, by the way.
The one of her personal guards, when she was walking in Balmoral.
Balmoral was a phenomenal story. That's a good story.
Yeah, and it shows she was.
Do you want to share the story for those that don't know it?
Yeah, I mean, I want to try and do it justice.
Do you want me to play the Queen?
No.
Only in the bedroom.
I don't think we need to role play in this situation.
But we are suspending it. For respect.
But one of the Queen and one of her personal guards were walking in plain clothes in the countryside of Balmoral. She liked to walk. And there was another couple walking some dogs.
An American couple on holiday.
Couple approaching them. They end up chatting to them, and the Queen's asking them questions about what they do in here, and they're on holiday and just chit chatting, and then they start asking her questions like what's she here for. She was like, oh, I'm just here for a trip to the country. I've got a house just over there.
I live in London, but I've got a holiday home.
Yeah, and they haven't twigged anything. And they then start asking the guy what he does, and he was like, oh, I'm a bodyguard for the Queen.
Well, I thought, I mean, obviously you'd do it, but the story I heard was they sort of said, they said to her like,
Oh,
if
he
you
used
live,
to
if
work
you,
with the Queen or something.
or she said, if you live near here, you must have seen the Queen because she lives near here.
Yeah, I think they asked that afterwards.
And then she went, well, I haven't met her, but this guy's met her a few times.
Yes, that's correct. I'm missing that bit out. And then they end up asking for a picture with him because he's met the Queen. And so the Queen takes a photo of him, and then he forces them to have a photo with the Queen. And they walk off, and she just says to him, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they show that photo to someone, because they're going to be like,
it's the fucking Queen.
it's the fucking Queen.
You met the Queen?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we met someone who knew the Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, she always comes across. There's a bit, that clip with Paddington, the Olympics or whatever it was.
I found that a little bit. I never saw it when it first
came
came out.
My favourite bit of that clip. I'm not a fan of that clip. Just for the record, my favourite bit of that clip is there's a bit right at the end where she just kind of turns to the camera. She doesn't spike the lens or anything, but she just kind of turns and does this like, "How good is this?
Yeah,
look at this." But I also saw a thing
when she's literally sat there with nothing.
Because there's that that post on one of like Reddit or something. They were like, my worst fear is that I die in a car accident whilst Ed Sheeran's playing, and it gets stuck on loop because of the car crash and whatever.
Right.
And the people who find me think I was like obsessed with Ed Sheeran. And someone was like, "Isn't that mad that that's basically what happened with the Queen and Paddington?"
Why, what's so bad with Ed Sheeran?
No. I mean, insert your own artist.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? But then someone was like, "That's basically just what happened with the Queen and Paddington." She had like one clip with him a year before she died or whatever, and everyone's like, "Well, the Queen loved Paddington."
Yeah.
Like the Queen and Paddington are synonymous.
Yeah, I think there was some. It was all to do with they released some Paddington special coins, if I remember correctly.
And I'm always a bit hesitant on Paddington. I mean, I like Paddington when I was a kid, like the stories and stuff. But I'm
I
always
don't
a bit.
really remember.
Ever since I found out who created Paddington,
Is it a nonce?
it's Jeremy Clarkson's dad.
Is he a nonce?
So Paddington is essentially part of the reason why Clarkson's a rich boy.
Oh, okay. So you
I kind of
dislike
take
Jeremy
umbrage with that.
Clarkson.
He's a tit.
All right, fair enough.
He's a tit.
I'm not a particular fan of Jeremy Clarkson's. I find him amusing sometimes.
He does it in an amusing way, but he's a tit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tell you what, like, what
I
really...
gotta admit, I get annoyed every year when it's results.
Oh,
day,
results. I was thinking, should I mention the results
obligatory
date? Oh, look at me. Yeah, I
It was like,
failed.
well, if your dad also invented Paddington, you can't.
You might be
all
alright. You might be alright. For me, I mean, obviously I'm very rich, so I'm alright. But for you, it might be different.
It's awful. I still live with my mum.
So do I, but separate wings.
Yeah,
Separate
mate,
wings.
it's not the same.
It's not the
a
same.
mansion.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
When it takes up the square footage, yours does.
No,
you pretty much have a road to yourself.
Even though we're in the same house, I do have to call her to talk to her. There's that distance.
Yeah. I think, isn't that through the Alexa system you have throughout the house though?
Yeah, it's very cutting edge.
It's a bit like cup and string, but posh.
But way more expensive.
Yeah.
Way more expensive.
Like obscenely expensive. Like it isn't actually worth
if we were
going to
do
for
If we were going to do cup and string, we'd do like, Royal Dalton cups. And
well, it'll be gold chain.
Yeah, exactly.
Golden cup.
Exactly. Some kind of
But why do that when you can just have an even more expensive Alexa
telephone system? Yeah, absolutely.
Or butlers. Just pass messages through the butler. Chinese whisper it.
Like when a really rich school.
Yeah.
Pass this note around.
I mean, legit though, if magic was real, I'd do the Harry Potter stuff, like send those flying letters and.
Yeah, but you know how many of them would be? Do you know that thing where people send you messages, send you a video, and you open it up and the footage is normal, but it's just a woman.
Just really random question: what, like fictional world would you most like to be in?
I mean, we've said this. I think we've sort of said this
Star
before.
Wars,
No, because it depends entirely on what.
Being a Jedi would be pretty.
But that's it. It depends. Am I just me, or do I get some kind of the? If I'm going to be in the superhero world, do I get to be a superhero?
Yes, I think that's fair.
If I'm going to be in the Harry Potter world, am I a fucking like me?
Muggle.
Am I a fucking Am I a muggle, or am I actually do I have some magic?
You're a wizard, Jake.
Do you know what I mean? Where do I stand on this?
Yeah. I mean, we'd all go Hogwarts. I mean, come on. I mean, it's a really hard one. What are you choosing?
Marvel. I'm a Marvel boy.
Yeah.
Marvel.
What
little
power
Avengers
would you
card.
like?
What power would I like? I mean, obviously I can't
You're
go.
Gonna be a
have I got to have one?
Visibility,
I've got to have one power.
Well, like if you said I want to have Superman's powers, do you know what I mean? Like obviously not in Marvel.
100% Superman's powers. That man is OP. That's exactly what I was thinking of. I was like, if I can just pick one.
No, I think like in
I'd
Marvel
go for like
you do tend to just have one.
I'd go for like a Wolverine, Deadpool level
I
healing
was just
factor. Do you know what I mean? It's just it kind of covers all.
Into my head as well. I don't know if I'd choose Marvel as the
universe.
I'd go into. Yeah.
But you're going Hogwarts. Although, to be
No, I
honest,
don't
bro,
even
just
know
think
if I'm
about
necessarily
this.
choosing Harry
Just think
Potter.
about this.
Thinking of the idea of being a Jedi.
You're over 30 now. You'd have to be a teacher in the school. Otherwise, you'd just be a really weird, creepy guy hanging around
but
the school.
like in this imaginary situation, I get to go back to school.
And then what would you do? Because like the thing is, they never really talk about it.
But
like,
as a kid, I'm not a 30-year-old.
obviously,
man.
we don't see the full world. But in Harry Potter, the career options are very limited. You either work for the
I'd be
Ministry
an
of
aura.
Well, you either work for the Ministry of Magic in some capacity, either like
Yeah.
an administrative role or as an aura, like out on the streets,
Yeah.
or you open a shop sort of on or off diagonally, or work in a shop on or off diagonally. Like, there's nothing else that you can do, or you teach.
Or have a publication of some kind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the career options are very. I mean, I don't know anyone
But
who
then
has
I
any
think
legal
it's just-
troubles.
I can't believe we're having this conversation. I think there's an assumed wealth for a lot of the magical world because, like, Harry inherited a lot of wealth, so a lot of wizards must have a lot of money.
Yeah, but they don't.
Well, no, not all do, but that's because they have lots of kids, like the Weasleys. It's just
Yeah.
if they didn't have
Well, just-
10 children, they'd have had more
I'm just
money.
saying, like the career options.
Well, that's really
career
anti-left wing
options.
of
Yeah,
me,
the
isn't
career
it?
the career options always seem really limited.
Yeah. I guess that's fair.
But anyway, the Queen.
Yeah, the Queen.
The Queen. Shall I look?
Have
through?
you felt any temptation at all to go and see her in state or the funeral itself?
God no. Why would I want to queue for like 8+ hours, maybe
Do you
even
wanna
2
know-
days, to watch a box that
I've
she
got
may
it
or may
here.
not be in?
As of today, and they've had to pause
They've paused
the queue.
it, yeah, till
It was
4
at
o'clock this
14
afternoon.
hours long.
Yeah, they've paused it till 4 o'clock this afternoon.
And my sister was going to go see it, but she was like, I basically need 24 hours
Yeah.
to go
What?
and do it.
Have you been tempted?
No.
I want to ask you 2 things.
I mean, my sister said to me, like, it would be amazing to go to London, get off the tube station, go into the crowd, and then just walk straight back on the tube, and you can feel like you were part of history.
One,
And I'm just, it's just,
do you think she's in the box?
that's a very, I actually was having that thought today, because I was like, just realistically, it must be a big, like, terrorism target, you would assume. And like you're not even seeing
also,
her
like,
anyway, are
how-
you? So,
How well would you have to treat a body to keep it
well, is she like encased
for
in
like
glass
a week?
or
No,
anything?
just in the coffin. I mean, I don't know what's inside the coffin.
I mean,
It might be
could
glass
be a very
in the coffin. But
advanced coffin that's chilled. Do you know what I mean?
think
Like,
I'd
has
be-
an air
I'd be
conditioning
more
system in
inclined
there
to
with
go
a-
and watch it go and see it if it was open casket.
Oh, no, that feels even worse. I mean, it feels rather
Do it with all the old
like,
like
to
North
me,
Korean
a
leaders
bit
and that.
redundant to go just look at a wooden box that may or may not.
Russian leaders. Gorbachev died. They put him in an open casket.
We're not Russian, Jake.
Might as well be. Let's be honest. The shit that's been going
Well,
down.
London maybe. We're London
The
grad.
shit that's been going down recently
Yeah.
with the protests and stuff.
Right. So you haven't felt tempted to go to the funeral?
No, and you
Uh,
haven't.
How? Like?
Do you think they'd be easier if they just, obviously logistically protecting it would be another challenge, but I think it's doable. Easier if they just wheeled the coffin along the queue.
Yeah. I think I saw. Did you respond to a tweet today? I think I
Yeah,
might have seen
I was
that.
like getting ideas for Charles,
Yeah.
for Charlie's funeral in a few
Um,
years.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. Probably not. Well, no, probably technically, but I don't know. There's so much that could go wrong with that.
Yeah. Do you know what's really annoying me about
Like, you
co-
don't want a bloke to strip down and somehow get on top of Her Majesty, do you?
It's what she would have wanted.
No, it's really not.
It's really
I've
what she
I
would have
think I
wanted.
don't think it would have been.
Do you, the thing that's really annoying me, I think, about the Queen dying, though, in all honesty,
Is how much are going on about it?
it's just dominated everything.
That was always going to happen,
and-
though.
No, but do you know what I'm like? So, all the broadcasters wearing black and mourning and that, it's
Mm.
sort of like, okay, fair enough. It's stupid.
Even like James O'Brien.
Oh, the
on
radio, all the
LBC.
radio producers,
always in a black
radio,
suit at
and
the
it's just
moment.
like, it's a bit stupid. But I guess in this day and age, we're filming it and we're putting
Isn't
it
there
online.
like
So like,
certain, not quite laws, but there's traditions and stuff that's why they're doing it, because it is tradition that
it's a morning period, like a
broadcasters-
broadcasting morning, yeah. But like the thing that really, it was that Friday, the day after she died. No music channel was allowed to play happy, upbeat music. It was all somber and
for
depressing.
like
It was
3
fuck
days at
me, this
work,
is shite. I just want to listen
we
to
had
something with
no
a bit of beat.
radio at work,
Yeah, that must
and
have been
no,
weird.
we still have no tannoy.
Well, I turned the radio off about lunchtime because I was like, it's just stupid. This is all depressing. I don't
Yeah.
want to, like, no offence to the Queen, like, we should all be sad she's died. Like, sorry, that's very sad. If you know her, you probably are sad.
Yeah,
I'm not sad. I don't want to be dragged down into your mire of depression.
Yeah, I mean, it leads me into one of my
And
questions.
Channel
that
4, by the way,
are
were the
they
only
making?
ones.
Do you feel too big a deal out of
Well, do you
out
remember
of it?
when Philip died
Yes.
and Channel 4 won the rating wars because they were the only one that they had Gogglebox. That was the thing that won it for them. Because every other channel, ITV, BBC, they were all doing Sky. They were all doing coverage of Philip's funeral.
Yeah.
Exactly like they're doing now. Reactions to his death, watching the fucking coffin fly from here to fucking there and all that shit, right? And Gogglebox completely dominated the ratings by being the only thing that was not Philip related.
Yeah.
And again, Gogglebox was the only, now official ratings haven't come in yet, but I would hazard a guess that once again on Friday night, the day after the Queen died,
Channel 4.
Gogglebox dominated the ratings because
Yeah, but then there is still a very large amount of people that are interested.
a few,
to be fair.
but I know interested is interested, but there's a few times I've turned on, right?
I mean, the thing is, I understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily even disagree, and I feel some of it myself. But even myself, I found we were watching her being transported from Balmoral.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
To Edinburgh.
Right?
And I tell you, mate, we must have watched 2 hours of it having a discussion about the royal family.
But I'm sorry, when you've been, there's interest in it. But when I'm
and I can't tell
over,
you why we did that, Jake.
and the Queen's in the air flying from Edinburgh down to Norfolk or wherever she flew into. Yeah, it was RAF Norfolk, wasn't it? And it was like, oh my God, we've got just pictures of people standing at the airport waiting for her to come in. And it was like, gee, come on, guys, seriously. There's got to be something else you can put on or talk about. I mean,
but
come the fuck on.
The other side of the argument is she is our longest serving monarch ever.
Oh, but doesn't mean I want to stare for
thing.
2 hours at someone standing at attention while we wait for something to happen.
I think for me it doesn't affect
really
me as
something
much
happening.
because I don't really watch a lot of normal telly, and I use streaming services mostly, and YouTube. So I can switch off from it.
Do you think the reaction has been just? I mean, never mind the fact that it's to be expected. Do you think it's been fair and proportionate? Do you think it's been too little or too much?
I would go as far as saying whatever they've chosen to do, how extreme or however much money they wanted to spend on it, for the service she gave, for how long she was our monarch and how big she has been in our history, there's nothing they could have done that I would have said they've gone too far for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
See, for me, absolutely too much. I mean, the Centre Parks thing. Jesus, did you see the Centre Parks thing?
Yeah, but
we
that's
have to
down
talk
to
about that.
businesses, man. And as
but
if you're going to ask me to feel sorry for people that go holidaying at Centre Parks,
when I say have they gone too far, I mean like the general population. I mean like businesses and all that. I mean, everyone's reaction to it.
It's a difficult situation because a lot of the big institutions
we
in the country, like our media companies and newspapers and broadcasters, all have to adhere to a certain level of respect. So then the mood being put out to the general public is one of respect, so they're going to expect a certain level. And then I think companies feel under pressure. And I think once some businesses and sectors of business start going, all right, that day we're not going to be open, everyone's like, oh, fuck, what do we do?
But there's a difference between like a florist. I mean, a florist, that'd be really poor form because that'd probably be a really good day for a florist.
Well,
but
there's stories of people that had funerals scheduled for the same day
and hospital treatments
now been cancelled and they haven't got a date.
And hospital appointments, exactly the same. That's too far for me.
Yeah, that's too far.
That's ridiculous.
Because that doesn't make sense. There's no reason why a crematorium needs to be closed on the same day the Queen's passed away. Other people should be allowed to mourn on that day as well. So maybe that's the only area where I would say it's gone too far.
I mean, you cannot say the Centre Parks thing wasn't going too far.
Well, no, because
their initial announcement.
That for me, the reaction Centre Parks had to it was their own choice. Do you know what I mean? Like, they didn't have to do it.
No, but they went too far.
It's not because Centre Parks went too far. They don't need to kick everyone out that day.
I just think.
But if you're asking me to feel sorry for people that can afford to holiday at Centre Parks,
no, God no.
I'm not going to do that.
I just think the whole reaction in general has just been way too much, and it's been way over the top.
It's because the general consensus is an agreement.
You don't want to be seen to be doing not enough.
Said, although it sounds extreme,
you don't want to be.
There's nothing you could say is unjustified.
It's one of those things. Like for me, as far as I'm concerned, look, you're going to get kicked back anyway from customers. You're either going to get Republicans saying, why the fuck are you closing? Some 90-year-old woman
Yeah.
died. Or you're going to get the royalists saying, why the fuck aren't you doing enough to respect the Queen?
Mm.
So it's kind of like, well, why don't you just operate as normal and be like, fuck everyone. Someone's going to be pissed off.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, it's one day. Like, it will affect some people financially, I'm sure. And not all businesses needed to do it. I mean, I'm lucky enough that my company I work for is one that has decided to close down, so I get a day off. We're going to have a family day.
Yeah.
We're going to probably watch some of the funeral.
Are you? That's what I was going to say. Are you going to watch the funeral?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah, just out of respect more than anything, and because especially like, as I've been given the day off for this reason, it would be like, and I know my family want to watch it. We're going to have a nice meal together, and it'll be a nice family day. Then yeah,
Will it involve eggs?
Yeah.
The Queen was royals are very passionate about their eggs.
No, we're not having eggs. We're going to have a like boiled bacon sort of.
Disappointing.
What we would normally have
really
on Boxing Day, which is like some boiled bacon that's been cooked, and we slice it up thinly, have it whatever's left over.
I was going to say leftovers.
Nibbly bits, quiche, park
Chocolates,
bake rolls,
roses,
all that sort of stuff.
Celebrations, Quality Street.
I don't go with lunch, bro.
Mate,
Get your
on
head out
Boxing
your
Day,
ass.
I'm sorry, from Christmas Day to New Year's Day,
No,
everything
Christmas
goes with
morning
everything.
is my sweets period over Christmas.
From me, Boxing Day through to that's just a weird period of the year where everything goes with everything. You can eat anything at any time, and it's
I'm
just
not judging,
rules
bro.
don't
I'm just saying
apply.
that's not how it rolls in my house.
Weird, and that's where you draw the line.
It's not that it's never occurred to me to go, oh, do you know what? I'm really enjoying this sausage meat and gammon, and really want one of those purple sweets from Quality Street.
Not the purple ones. I'm not an animal.
Mate, the purple ones are the best one.
No,
It really is. What's better in Quality Street than the purple one?
Well, I'm by it. Like, for me, I do have a personal favourite.
If you say anything coconut, I'm going to slap you.
God, no. No, the strawberry ones are always my favourites.
Mate, they're like borderline almost as bad as the coconut ones. They're overly sweet.
You're just trying to end the podcast. Is that just what you're just trying to
Mate,
push my buttons and end the podcast?
We called this Crossing Swords for a reason. We wanted to disagree more, and it seems the hills we want to die on tend to be about food.
They are, I would say, 95% of our
the worst fallout we've ever had on the podcast.
95% of our disagreements are about food.
And my sister actually said to me, it's by far the best episode
because
she thinks we've recorded. Well, she said it was nice to hear me laugh. It was just, we were bouncing off on each other, having a laugh and disagreeing massively. And she then sent me a link, and look, because she said I would silence her. Fuck you. That's right, I just told my sister to fuck off on the podcast. And what? She sent me a link to an article where apparently the head of Jacobs that make mini cheddars said mini cheddars, they consider them biscuits. And I was like, well, he's wrong. She's wrong. I think
that's the hill you're going to die on.
Yeah. Jacobs are wrong.
No, your sister deserves a medal for ever putting up with you.
Yeah,
it's an absolute joke.
She needs something. She weren't the funny one.
Yeah, and you got presents on her birthday.
Well, I've promised her she can come on the pod at some point, so our listeners will get to meet.
Oh, we're gonna gang up on you so much.
It's gonna be brutal, isn't it?
I hope so.
Part of me wants to put it off just for that reason.
No,
my sister was like, "Well, nail you."
We can it whenever. Yeah, I mean, maybe not physically. That'd be a bit weird.
No, she's my sister, bro.
Yeah, that'd be a bit
no
weird.
one's head went there, only yours.
It's true.
Speaks a lot about the upper classes, doesn't it?
We are mostly obsessed with sex and money.
Yes.
Much like the lower classes. But that's not about the Queen. What have I got here? I felt like I do feel very much for the children, not Andrew. Never Andrew. It's like it's obviously you can.
Why, Jake?
I wonder. You can speak from experience, having lost a parent, I guess in what you'd call recent history.
Yes.
But certainly having lost
not
a parent.
Not as recent as it
the
feels. Do you know what? Or the Queen's. But I'm just going to throw this out there, nice little bit of trivia. My dad and the Queen, same birthday, obviously different year, but same day.
Wow. That's kind of, something.
My dad was a Queen at heart.
I've heard. I've definitely heard
Queen
those
of my
rumours.
mum's heart.
I've definitely heard those rumours. Yes, it's a bit. Yeah.
I've thrown you now, haven't I?
All I can picture is your dad as a Queen. But it's very. My point
would it
is,
have worked with the beard?
I watched a bit. It would have. I accidentally tuned on. So I've tuned into Only Connect, And
Jesus.
mate, I love it. You back off.
And you say you're left
the
wing.
University Challenge. Yeah, I know. It did my telly choices when you tweeted me. I was
Yeah.
like, I'll admit my telly
Welcome to the
choices
Tories.
were very, very kind of like.
The thing is, basically, what I'm taking the piss out of you for is being someone who's intelligent, who enjoys watching more intelligent television.
I wouldn't necessarily be intelligent. I
No,
enjoy
like
quizzes.
generally, me and Leanne were talking about this the other day because we were talking about the quizzes during lockdown and stuff. And I was like, Jake dominated. His general knowledge is phenomenal. And I was like, but it's because he reads, he watches all sorts of stuff. Like,
Fucking reads like a loser.
no, but the thing is, the only stuff I would ever read is fiction. I would, but you'll read more.
I've read some non-fiction. I wouldn't say I've read a
stuff.
lot of non-fiction.
But your interests are varied. Like what you are interested in, is quite varied.
Yeah, most things, to be fair, like quite a lot.
So like there was so much crossover of stuff you had like a tiny bit of knowledge on. It just
I think that's what it
kept
is, just
winning
a
you points.
little bit of here and there.
Yeah.
But Only Connect is great because it's kind of like a lateral thinking.
I tried watching it because my mum is a big fan of it.
Love your mum. Love that.
Stay away from her, Jake.
I can't help it. I like what I like. I'm a sapiosexual.
Although I find Victoria Corrin.
Yeah, Victoria Coren Mitchell.
Who, by the way, he is punching something rotten, isn't he? Because I think she's absolutely beautiful. I think she's a love, and I've seen her on Taskmaster. I think she's absolutely brilliant.
I love Victoria. And
but just don't like the show. She minted.
her dad's very rich.
Oh,
And
shoot.
And she was a professional poker player for many years. She earned,
Yes,
she
I
earned
did
a
know
lot of
that
money.
about
She earned a
her,
lot
yeah.
of money.
Oh
A
wow,
lot of money. A lot of winnings.
Jesus.
But I
Nice
love
day
Victoria
for a
Coren, and
sub.
she's like weirdly obsessed with Michael Portillo. She always tried to get like a Michael Portillo.
Who's Michael Portillo?
You know Michael Portillo? Bro, we can have this conversation. Okay, so he was an MP.
This is a
He
bigger
was like-
shock than the
he was
Queen
like
dying.
Well, he was
Jake.
like a Tory MP. So he's a very posh boy.
Yeah.
He's an old chap, and now he
Being a
does
Tory, I'd
now he
imagine.
does BBC travel documentaries where
Right.
he just mostly trains.
Oh, I've seen him. Yeah, I
And
didn't
what he
know
does-
he was an ex.
What he does is his colour scheme
Yeah.
is wild. He does not own a single pair of plain trousers.
Okay.
They are
They're
all either
always
pink or
outlandish.
yellow or green.
That's quite a Tory trait, though.
And then
isn't
he
it?
partners it with a shirt that is also pink or green or yellow, but never the same as the trousers. Always
Mm.
big clash. I love it. I
I've
always tune
noticed
in just to see
with
how he's going to dress.
Conservative men during their really young years, garish, outlandish trousers, but smart attire. They get to their 30s and they become a bit more formal. They
Bit more
become
conservative,
a dad,
bit more-
and then when they retire, it's back to the outlandish, but still smartly dressed.
Yeah, it's
It's the cycle of the Tories.
But yeah, I love Only Connect. Anyway, we've gone off a bit. But I was watching Only Connect. I tuned over to Only Connect just before they were just finishing off the vigil in St Giles in Edinburgh,
Yeah,
and it was the 4 kids standing around the coffin while
Yeah.
people sort of filed in and looked at it, and I thought, Jesus, that imagine losing a parent and then you've got to go and stand next to the coffin for best part of an hour.
one of the
it's just
things
that's a bit hard.
I said to my mum
That's
in the
hard.
aftermath was 4 or 5 days in, Charles was at his second service with the coffin, and I was like, he won't have had 5 minutes to process anything.
It's like
He's gone from showing up and his mum has most likely passed away, or if not
on
death's
the
door.
way out.
So, and the thing is, they're not waiting 2 seconds after she's pronounced dead. It's God Save the King, and it's everything's
That was kind of
different,
give me kind of
and-
chills, I must admit, at the cricket. When
yeah.
they did God Save the King, and I was like, oh.
That brings me on to something. Do you I don't necessarily have an issue that they cancelled football because
Oh, big issue. Huge issue.
my main issue. But could you honestly say to me you think all fans would have been respectful at games?
No, but for me, it's an all or nothing situation. Either
Yeah.
all sports call themselves off at the top level.
It's difficult.
or
with
none of
different
them.
governing bodies, unless the government gets involved and just
No,
says
it's up to the
everyone
sports
close.
individually, but it's like, I'm sorry, why the fuck? Because I don't know, I don't
Well,
want to make
let's
that
be
working
honest,
class comparison
is
of
it
the
because
rugby was on and the cricket was on.
had more faith in its fans that they would behave
But
themselves
also-
in comparison.
And I just want to say this, I know there's about, respecting the monarch and all that,
Yeah,
whatever, right? Respecting the death and but we live in a free society, in a
Mm.
democratic society that promotes or in an ideological way promotes free speech.
yeah.
So what if someone boos the fucking national anthem?
Well, that leads
That's
me on
that's
to
the joy of the
another
country we live in.
question. What do you think of the protesting?
It's
that's been going
ridiculous, isn't it? Isn't it ridiculous? The bloke who got pulled off for having a blank sign.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
So we're going to arrest someone
That's
for having
ridiculous.
paper. And God bless them students, by the way. Not
But
God bless them,
there
but
was one
the
guy,
students at Edinburgh who
he
turned
got
up with a
pulled
blank
away
canvas and
by
blank paper.
There was a guy that was doing something about Prince Andrew.
Oh, Rory shouted at him, "You're a sick old man."
But if you watch the footage, the reason I think the police pull him away initially is because he's about to get his head kicked in.
Right, but then we explore that a little bit further, and the people who actually took swings at him, nothing. Police didn't even talk to him.
Yeah.
He got arrested.
Yeah.
He was dragged off in handcuffs.
Yeah, I think that, I'd be interested to know if he's been charged with anything.
It's like, I know, look, and I do say this, like, there's a time and a place to protest Prince
that's
Andrew, and in the moments after his mother's death, maybe not the place or the time. But having said that, when you look at it on paper, what we're saying is a man who was heavily linked to a sex a sex offender and a sex trafficker, an underage sex trafficker, and who was accused quite reputably
of doing some very
being
vile
a sexual
shit.
offender,
Yeah.
and then paid £12 million or somewhere in the region of £12 million
I heard it was over 20
to make it go away, so
Yeah.
to speak, is not prosecuted, not even questioned by the police. Whereas a man who shouts "You're a sick old man"
Yeah.
at the sex offender is, what kind of fucking world is that?
No, I
What
completely
kind of
agree with you,
society
but
is that?
I don't.
Come on.
I don't think he.
This is something I'm quite passionate about, I must admit.
No, I
This
can
is just a
understand
ridiculous thing. We live in a free speech thing, and you will have seen the same clip as I have, possibly, of on the James O'Brien show on LBC, where the bloke called up and went, they were right to be arrested for holding
No,
that sign.
I haven't actually seen it.
Oh, and he went, okay, for breaching the peace. He went, okay, so if a royalist went into a room full of Republicans
Yeah.
and held up a sign saying "God save the King," should they be arrested? And he went, well, no. And he went, why? It's the same principle. If the breach of the peace thing is exactly the same principle.
You add in
you're being deliberately antagonistic, so to think.
Or the situation they were in at the time. If, those Republicans are in a room mourning the death of someone that was important to them, but like this was a funeral procession.
I think for me, if the police had have said to those people holding up the signs, had have said to them, look, and explained to them, look, we're going to move you along because we're concerned
I
about.
think that's a far fairer way of doing it.
And they'd have said, look, we're concerned about your safety, and we've got a lot of people to focus on here. We think you'd be drawing an unnecessary amount or an unfair amount of police
part
attention.
of it as well is a heightened security situation
so
as well. They're taking less chances on what people are up to.
We've got all these people here. We've got X amount of police to watch over them and protect them, and you're taking up an unfair amount of time. So we're gonna move you on and explain that that's the reason.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But these people are being arrested.
Yeah.
These people are being taken down to the station. Do you know what I mean? Dragged off in handcuffs.
I think it's everything thrown into it. I don't think, if it was...
And we were laughing, by the way...
Any normal Monarch event, I don't know, like a ceremony or whatever, I don't think that person gets arrested. But I think you throw in the fact the Queen's just died, it's a funeral procession, there's loads of people, it's a high security risk. I think that they just...
But being arrested,
later.
I just think is ridiculous.
It is. There's better ways to deal with it, but I can also understand to a degree why it's happening.
I can't. Like I said, there's ways to deal with it, and that ain't it.
Yeah. But again, I think partly what feeds into that is resource-wise, perhaps. I don't know. I think it's all sorts of things.
We're laughing at places like Russia and North Korea when they do this kind of shit, and China when they treat their protesters like that.
If we were doing it
exactly
day
the same.
in, day out.
And also...
But, we are moving towards that direction with the anti-protesting laws that they're trying to introduce and things like that.
Policing bill and all that. But then you look at North Korea as well, and they turn up and they look like fucking the Tin Men with all their medals on. Well, I'm sorry, Edward served 4 months in the army, and he's got more medals than Uncle Albert. Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if he'd have actually spent a year there. Imagine if he'd have gone on a tour.
Does this feed into a wider issue for you of the monarchy in general?
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
What it sounds like.
I am a bit of a Republican.
Yeah,
for sure. I do think
that no offence, that I was getting that sense
for sure.
From,
but the thing is, I just find it funny that we sit here and laugh at other nations for doing it, and it's like, bro, we're exactly the same.
We are and we're not. We're not at those extremes. I would actually even say to you, to be honest with you, the major difference is our country doesn't lie to us. We know exactly what's going on. We just do fuck all about it.
I would not agree with that. I think our country does lie to us.
Does it though? For
Yeah.
some things, perhaps, but if you look at the last few years under Boris Johnson, I don't know how much. I mean, they were lying, but it was still very obvious what was going on.
Yeah, but you look about, the media only turned on them up to a point.
Yeah, but then that's
They were
again,
backing them and supporting them
that's
for a long
because
time.
our media in general is on that side.
And
of
you look at
things.
the 2 or 3 prominent journalists who
And
actually
let's be
reported
honest,
the truth.
If we had a left-wing press, it would probably be potentially just as dangerous as a right-wing press on the extremes.
And is it Miss Cadwallap was one of the prominent journalists sort of saying, reporting the Boris Johnson lies,
Yeah.
and not just Boris Johnson, but was reporting the Russian links and all that kind of stuff, and was then sued and spent like 2 years in a long, lengthy and expensive legal battle, deliberately tying her up, deliberately meaning that she was suppressed and not reporting, because whilst it's an ongoing thing, she can't, other people can write about it on her behalf, but she can't write her reports about Russian links whilst there's an ongoing legal battle over slander and libel over Russian links. And it's, so I don't, I do agree we do still have free speech, but it's diminishing. And it's diminished in our lifetime, under our eyes.
It's difficult to imagine that, though, in the world we live in, just
in the last 10
through
years, we have watched it.
because we're not, as individuals, actually silenced, are we?
No, but then equally, social media is not a free speech place in as much as it's very much, there's a lot of technology and company investment in social media manipulation.
Well, I think that's the reason why Elon Musk wanted to buy Twitter, because he wanted to remove a lot of the
damaging shit. Oh, I saw the Twitter
Well,
thing.
the thing is, and it's an issue with deplatforming in general.
I saw a great thing about Tesla, by the way, that
What
their service vehicles are Fords.
that?
So I feel like if you make a car, the very least that you could do is have your fleet be your car.
It's probably cost prohibitive, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, like 70 grand or whatever for a
Minimum. Yeah.
But yeah,
And
anyway,
the rest.
sorry. Yeah, no, I do have. Do you consider yourself a Republican, or are you a bit more of a monarchist?
I would say I'm more of a monarchist, but not in a particularly impassioned way. I like how good we are at ceremony. I like how good we are. Like, there's a historical tint to the way we do things. There is a regal tint to the way we do things, and I do like that. Like when we officially do Parliament properly, when a new government's sworn in, the whole ceremony of it all, the monarch is there, beating the door, all that sort. I just love the pomp and circumstance of it all, I guess. And I think in general, bar Prince Andrew, the majority of the royals tend to behave themselves, I guess.
What about the ones that really do behave themselves? What about the rubbish around Harry and Meghan all resurfacing with them coming back to the fray?
Like, me and Leanne have had quite a few discussions about them two recently, and Leanne's on the side of, she thinks it's quite disrespectful how they've behaved in terms of selling their story and talking about the monarchy a lot and things like that. And I'm still very much in their camp.
I'm massively in their camp.
Because for me, what it came down to, and I said to Leanne, like, it has to come back to, after all this shit has gone on and both sides have made mistakes and done things wrong, what started this off? The royal family made a mistake. They handled things poorly, and through rigidity and not wanting to actually deal with things, it caused a situation where Harry, someone who watched his mum die unnecessarily, and all the shit that went on around her and the media focus, and it was so many parallels between that and what was now going on with his
Meghan.
pregnant wife who was having suicidal thoughts. And I said to Leanne, if I was him, I would have done everything in my power to protect you from that situation. I would have left my family. But I said the problem is, once they've left, they then have to make a certain amount of money to live the life that they're accustomed to, be comfortable, be safe, have security, all that stuff, because they've been cut off.
The best way to do that is to
sell
their story.
What is their one
thing?
commodity they have? It's their story. And once they've done that, and they have more of a platform, they can go on to do other shit and not talk about the royal family. And that's where it falls. Like, morally, is it great? No.
But did you see the thing about them holding hands? The commotion that caused. Well, by the way, 3 other royal couples held hand that day.
Yeah, Mike Tyndall and Zara Phillips were doing it, and I can't remember who the other one was.
No, but there was another one.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. it's quite clear that
a man who's like a
it's-
day away from his
it's
birthday
hard
when it
for
happened,
not to be a racial thing as well, isn't
who's
it?
just lost his nan, after experiencing it all, would have undoubtedly dragged up all the trauma that he experienced as a child, like you said with his mum, because it would have been triggering all of that, seeing it all in the
Plus
spotlight
the
and all
fact
handled
we've
in the
never
same
heard
way.
anything except the fact he adored the Queen
And then
and that they had a good relationship.
yeah, and they've got, by all accounts, the Queen got on really well with Meghan.
Yeah.
And there's
And this is
plenty
the
of
thing.
clips
They
of them,
have
photos
not, I
of
said
them
to
laughing
Leanne,
and
there's not
joking.
been one moment since they've left the royal family where they have publicly said anything negative about the Queen. Not
No.
once. They've had issues with the surrounding system that surrounds the monarch and everything that goes with that, but they've never once snagged off the Queen. So for me, I don't think they have crossed the line. And fucking going after them for holding hands, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, what a loving couple. Like supporting each other.
What a ridiculous thing to take issue with. And again, talking about James O'Brien, there was a clip of him talking to a woman on Twitter yesterday where she phoned up to say that she had an issue with it. And it's like, and then when he's like, all right, so what's the actual issue with it? She hasn't got anything. It's just, people have been programmed since the moment she
They've
entered
been
the royal
conditioned
family
to dislike her.
to dislike her.
And it's racism, pure and simple.
Yeah, it's hard for it to imagine it's anything else.
It's 100% nothing else. It's like,
which is just fucking ridiculous. It really is. And like I said to Leanne again, she was and I said it to you as well, she was an opportunity for the royal family to have a figurehead. And yes, there's almost a racist element to what I'm about to say, to use her as a face for change and a public face of change for the monarchy. And they chose not to do that. And that includes the Queen. So out of no other reason than convention and not wanting to offend people.
what did you make of the football being off? I know we've sort of...
I mean, it was annoying in the sense of the football content I would normally consume across the weekend wasn't there.
I couldn't even play football. I did play football unofficially. No one tell the police. But couldn't even play football.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you going to tell an 8-year-old? Like, you can't play this weekend because I'm a 96-year-old woman that you've never ever met died.
But I don't have an issue with the fact the football leagues and the Premier League decided to take a
I did
weekend
see two football-related things that really did make me chuckle, perhaps dark humour, potentially.
off.
One, do you remember the clip of Conte and Tuchel shaking hands after the game?
Oh,
a
it
few weeks
was
ago?
the Queen and Diana
Queen and
meeting
Diana in the
heaven.
afterlife.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was 100% the one that really made me laugh, and I just wanted to like hail as the fucking, this is how I feel about it all, was when it's in the In-Betweeners, when Will is dating the woman that he considers
the
a
really
big
tall
well, whatever, and
girl.
he's just broken up with her, and sort of Tara her friend is comforting her, and she's like, you're a monster, like her dad's just died or whatever, and he goes, that's really
Not
sad.
really
And then there's this
relevant.
really long pause, and he just goes, it's not. And they're like, what? It's not what he went, oh, it's not relevant, is it? And I was like, that's 100% how I feel about it, because like, yeah, it's sad she died, and for a lot of people who are very royalist, it's going to be really sad.
I can
But it's not
understand that
relevant.
position, but I think in relation to the enormity
Thank God
of
the cricket went
event,
ahead.
I can understand why they did it.
One day rained off, one day mugged off for the Queen,
If
binned off
they-
for the Queen.
I think
Thank God for
I think
baseball.
what they wanted to avoid was any opportunity of negative press to be associated with the Premier League or any other league.
I think they went
the
really
fans
early
booing.
doors, and they expect. I think they went early doors, and they expected other sports to do the same.
Yeah, probably.
And then other sports were like, nah, it's probably better if we just all wear armbands and applaud her and sing the national anthem. And
Well, I thought that's just what they would do anyway. And
Yeah.
let's be honest, it's what they're probably going to do anyway when they do play.
yeah, obviously the only other things I've got here are the fact that it's really brought out this discussion, as we sort of touched upon this discussion about free speech.
Mm.
And I feel like the free speech warriors, it's very interesting. The ones that are all like normally say we're being silenced and we're being, we should be allowed to say what we want. And the ones that really bang on about it more than anyone else are the ones that are very much the ones saying, well, yeah, but you can't have the signs up at the, their right to be arrested for the thing. And
I
it's
don't-
like, well, hang on a minute.
I
Either
mean-
you're a big advocate for free speech or you're
I
not.
don't actually have an issue with signs per se being held up at anything because ultimately it's just a sign. You can ignore
No,
it.
but I find the
But if
ones who are getting
someone's
really
like screaming shit and
But I find the ones who are getting really passionate against the signs are usually the ones that are big on the free speech, big on the old free speech.
Yeah.
And what really they mean is,
we want our
I like
side
to be able to
heard.
be, I like to be, you can't say anything anymore. It's that, it's, you can't be sexist or racist or homophobic anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what it comes down to.
Well, if you've not got much else to discuss, why don't we go back to, because obviously you're saying you're more Republican than you are
Yeah, no,
monarchist.
good. I wanted to touch on that.
Why is that?
I just think it's just such a. I get it for the like I know I've said it for the tourism thing. I kind of get, and I just don't think it serves any real purpose. And I think that it's just such a ridiculous thing that all our lives stop because a 96-year-old woman dies, and last year or whenever it was, all our lives stopped because her husband died, who was even older, kind of thing. And it was like, well, hang on a minute. And also the whole thing of, we're in a cost of living crisis, which I know we won't always be in, but in a cost of living crisis, homelessness is on the rise and is rife. And yet here we are people who we're paying millions of pounds to, and not like, don't get me wrong, they work hard in terms of they put a lot of public appearances and they do a lot of that kind of shit, but it's like they just glorify PR. They don't really ever do anything that's worth doing apart from the odd charity. But the point is, once you get to the king or queen, you can't be in vocal favour in one of anything one way or the other. So Charles, who's been quite vocal about
figurehead.
Charles, who's been quite vocal about climate change and about the environment, suddenly he can't have an opinion on it as a king.
It'll be interesting to see, won't it?
And he's come out and he said as much. He said, I know as king, I can't have those opinions. So it's like, it's just so pointless. I think it's just all pomp and it's crap.
I think crap is harsh.
Yeah, crap is opinion. Crap is subjective.
Yeah.
Pomp, I guess, is subjective, but feels a little less.
No, because I agree with you. And that's sort of what I like about the monarchy. I like how like everything we do that's ceremonial and important has this sort of regal and almost historic feeling element to it because of the system we have. There's issues that come with it. It's a sort of unspoken class system that there's them and then there's us, and that's definitely an issue currently. But are they the root cause of it? Are they putting people into poverty? No, they're not making those decisions. They're not the people responsible for it. They've just happened to be born into a royal line and live the lives they live in.
Because of the constraints they live in, I know they don't know any better,
want to be in that family.
But they must be miserable. It's such a dysfunctional family.
But it would be if you live in such a sheltered.
Exactly, they'd be much happier if they weren't
people
royal.
Pretending to be surprised that King Charles, is demanding, entitled, and gets frustrated easily. It's
a prince.
Well, for starters, he's in his 70s, so he's an old man. So yes, he's set in his ways, and yes, he's irritable. He's rich and always has been, and has always been waited upon. So yes, he's quite demanding and entitled. Like, what's surprising about that? It doesn't necessarily mean he's a bad person. And if anything, from what you're hearing at the moment, he's quite personable. He's quite easy to get along with. He's quite charming. He's quite affable. Huge fingers, like fucking sausage hands.
Yeah, there's a drinking problem there or something.
Well, apparently it could be gout as well.
Yeah, gout, but I think led on by.
Yeah, I mean he's lived an indulgent lifestyle.
Let me ask you this: why do you think? I'm not saying we should cut off and say right, let's just have no. I say we phase it out. Why do you think we shouldn't?
What do you think would be achieved by phasing them out? What benefit?
We'd get rid of them.
For what benefit?
Well, for the benefit of, obviously, we save a bit of money, we save a bit of
we wouldn't be saving money because they currently run us at a profit. If you look at we've done it before on
we did it before,
the Royals episode. They do come out as a profit.
I still think we'd be all right. I think, but also I think we get rid of the pomp. We get rid of the whole. I mean, I hate the fact that they have to ask the newly elected leader of the whatever party's won to start a government. It's so fucking ridiculous, and it's like,
why is it ridiculous though?
Why isn't it?
No, but why
does it make sense? No, you tell me why it makes sense.
Well, because
we
went from being a monarchy to a democracy
a very long time ago.
Yes.
Hundreds of years ago.
So we integrated the two, and this was the system we came up with.
Yes, we integrated the two because you couldn't just knock one out. We should have phased it out there and then.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have let it go on.
Back then, you could probably make an argument in terms of what it was costing us.
It's just tradition at this point. It's just tradition.
But why are you so negative? What are the massive cons that are causing you to dislike it?
Because it serves no purpose other than to be traditional.
Yeah, but that's not really an argument to say it's
the
negative.
Queen and the King, who are unelected figureheads, have to play an official role,
but also
in a democratically have no power. They have to go along with it. But exactly that, they have
But
to
the
go
thing
along with it.
is,
So
what
why
I'm
even
trying to-
have them?
No, but
I know you're just playing devil's advocate, by the
Well,
way,
I am and I'm
to
not,
to an extent.
because the thing is, what I'm trying to get to is like, what's the to make an argument to get rid of something that's not necessarily, like, I don't know what harm the monarchy's causing is what I'm trying to say. Like, what are we, like, you can't just say let's get rid of them to get rid of them.
So the harm.
There's no logic to that argument, because if they are in general a net benefit in terms of financially, then that's something in the pro column. So like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to find the
it's
meat
just
of it.
pointless pomp. It's pointless.
Is
pomp.
that more of like when we talk about things like it's that feeling you get?
No, it's pointless pomp. If you can tell me a point to it.
Well, the thing is, it depends as a society what you want to value. Like, it's becoming less relevant, but it's like, if the value they have is, I suppose, what we attribute to them as a society. So currently we believe they hold some value. So they do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Value lies where men think it lies.
Essentially. And I think that's what it boils down to. And the benefit, I mean, you could argue we do charitable work through the monarchy, or they do charitable work through their situation.
I would say through the non-monarchy members of the royal family, they set up charities. But I think that's as much as anything because they've got nothing else to do. Do you know what I mean? They've got to put their name to something. They don't have to put their name to something, but they want to put their name to something. And obviously they want to put their name to something good. And I get that. That's a good, noble, worthy thing. But
what would you want them to do?
Just go and live their lives. Just go off and be private
Normal
citizens.
People. Do they get to keep all their wealth?
No, that's why I said we'd phase it out, and they can choose. They can choose to kind of invest whatever wealth they have.
It seems to me a bit harsh to say to the royal family, right, over the next 50 years, we're going to phase you out of existence. You're going to lose everything you have. We're going to seize everything back, but you're going to be reasonably. It just doesn't seem like for.
But why
for
should
no
they have
real,
all that? Why should they have all that money anyway? What have they done other than be born?
Well, it's just been developed over time, isn't it? It isn't like they got handed it all at once. It's an accumulative
But
thing.
it's ridiculous just because they were bought. I don't believe, and you and I both on the same page in this regard. I don't believe that, and obviously some things do. We all do have benefits. What's the word? It's not prejudice. What do they call
biases?
No, not even biases. Advantages. It's what do they call that? I can't think what they call it. You talk about it a lot. It's come up a lot in the last few years over race. You have, privilege. Privilege. Yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. So obviously we have privilege based on what economic status we're born into, whether we're born into like this country or, for example, whether we're born into what would be considered a third world country. But I don't believe that in every way possible in this planet we should be encouraged that the conservative ideals apply, even though the conservatives don't actually apply those ideals. If you are capable enough and you work hard enough, you can achieve the highest level possible to you. But these guys are literally just born into it. They're nothing else.
But what I would throw at you is the issue there hasn't been created by the institution you would like to change. It's the one it's connected to, the democratic system. That's the one that has allowed us to get to a situation where the trickle-down economics have just stayed at the top.
No, agreed. And that's its own problem. That's its own discussion. But the monarchy it's just pointless pomp. That's all I see it as.
That feels harsh, but I can't
find a way to really argue against it.
No, because I don't also think that's a valid argument in itself.
What, pointless pomp?
Yeah.
I just think like all the stuff that they're involved in, like
in one way it is pointless, but in another it's quite inextricable to how we do things. So to say
but it doesn't have to be. But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be, but it has been for a long time.
There are lots of countries that have gotten. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're just going back to tradition. It's just about tradition.
Yeah, but for me,
but tradition
what I was
changes.
about to go back
it's there to be broken.
Is unless there's a genuine reason other than it's pointless, isn't it?
Why is that not a good enough reason? If something's pointless, you get rid of it.
If it's not a negative, it's not causing any real problems.
If, for example, but I think it is causing problems.
Like what?
I think there's a huge division in this country, particularly at the moment, of the economic question of people are suffering. Lots of people living below the poverty line.
But they're not the cause of that.
No, they're not the cause of it, but they're the beneficiaries of it.
Are they?
Of course they are.
Well, that would imply that they have some control over the measures that are making everyone else poorer.
No, but just because they don't
wealthier.
have any control over it, that's almost worse. Is that they haven't got these things through any means of their own. They haven't done anything to earn them. They haven't done anything to get them.
Well, I guess it was
they
earned,
just have
most
them
of it was earned, I would imagine,
imperialistically by
Yeah.
stealing it from around the world,
Yeah.
which that in itself is an argument to get rid of it. Kind of say it was wrong to ever exist.
Yes, but that's also not the responsibility of them.
I don't care if it's their fault. If they're the beneficiary of it, then they unfortunately
I think
they're going
it's
to reap the
hard to say
repercussions
just
of that.
because someone won the lottery and they don't deserve it that they shouldn't have any of it is a fair argument, particularly.
But that's an issue of. I know we're talking about luck, but we're talking
Because
about
for me,
institutionalised
most of
luck.
your core issues with it are caused by other institutions, not the monarchy. But for you, it seems to be a symbol of those issues.
Yeah, but if those institutions are all linking themselves to the monarchy and they're all saying we want to be we're happy
They're
to be a
only
part of this or
linked to it
whatever,
because it's
because it
inextricably
exists.
linked. Yes.
And you're kind of alluding to without saying it, tradition.
Yeah,
It's
I think
tradition. It
tradition
exists.
is a big part
It
of
exists because it always existed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it always has to exist.
Well, no. For me, if there were valid reasons beyond they're pointless, like economic reasons, or it turned out they were a major reason behind why we've had austerity for the last 12
I just think
years.
it's so
Do
stupid.
you know what I mean? Then
I know I get you on that front, but I just think it's so stupid that we involve them in some of the ways that we do, and it's for nothing other than show.
yeah. But that again, that's a huge part of what Britain is in general.
But I don't think it necessarily is, but I certainly don't think that's what it has to be. Look at France.
Well, no, it doesn't have
France
to
were a
be that
republic.
way.
They got rid of but when they got rid of the difference was when they got rid of
They
their
killed
monarchy
them.
and introduced democracy, they got rid of their monarchy and introduced democracy.
Yeah, but saying we're going to be nicer than they were isn't a valid reason either.
No, I'm not quite. The
We
opposite.
won't kill you.
I'm sort of saying, look, when they got rid of their thing, they didn't do it half and half. They didn't go, look, we'll meet you in the
they
middle.
were full in.
They went all in, and I think that's what we should have done.
What? Just killed them off early?
Oh no, not necessarily killed, but just said, look, we're not going to have a monarchy. We're going to do things democratically.
The thing
And
is,
that's
though, we have been for a long time as a nation a very traditional, nationalistic nation, and I think that dial's changing. And it's why when we had the discussion the other day, I can see a time when the monarchy is less important.
And also,
and
you look at us having the king as it is now as head of state. In the Queen's lifetime, most of the Commonwealth states have democratically voted to remove
as
the
completely
Queen as the head
they're
of
right.
state.
There's no issue
So
with that.
why shouldn't we be the next in line?
I think that's a discussion we can have as a nation. And
I
as
just
a
think
society.
if you could put forward a good enough, I don't mean necessarily you. I'm just talking to you because you're here. If one could put forward a
I
good
would
enough
say
argument to me to keep the monarchy,
one of my things is I definitely think it adds a level of reputation to the country. I think we would lose something in terms of our appeal to the rest of the world.
I think arguably, and I know this is one incident of one person, but what kind of reputation do you really want? The reputation of an institution that buries paedophiles and sex offenders?
No, but if we're pulling up those branches, there's very few institutions that will be left standing.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of them all.
But I don't think that's the reason to get rid of the monarchy. I don't think,
too
they're the
many
reason
things.
Prince Andrew
I think my
potentially,
big problem
allegedly
with the
is what he
Western
is.
world is too many things are sort of intrinsically and inexplicably, in my opinion, not inexplicably because they're historical, linked to the state when they shouldn't be. Religion is hugely linked to the state. Obviously, Christianity hugely linked to the state, and it just shouldn't be. Religion should have no place.
Not nowadays.
In state affairs. And
no,
it's
but
the same, like the monarchy is
as
exactly
I've said,
the same
I
as that. It's
think
like it should have no place in the state. The monarchy and the state should be separate. And therefore, if they're separate, what service does the monarchy serve other than to be a glorified tourist attraction?
Well, the thing is, there's no real argument other than they don't really serve a purpose for why they shouldn't be involved with the current political system, because their involvement is very limited anyway.
So why have it? From like an autistic point of view, if a system goes from A to B, or A to C, sorry, but it passes through B, because that's the way it's always done. But if B no longer existed, the route would change in absolutely no way. Why would you have B? It's just an extra stop on the line. You just don't need it. Let's get there as quick as we can.
Broken?
I think it's so pointless. If you can
but
make
it's not
something more
broken,
streamlined.
though. It's not. it's
I
not
think it is broken
dysfunctional
because
of the monarchy.
But I think we're involving something into the state that has no place being a part of the state.
Yeah, but its involvement is incredibly limited. Like it doesn't.
Exactly. So why have it if they don't have any say over what they get to say? Why have it? It's so pointless.
Yeah, but I still don't like.
I can't get my head
if
around it.
something's not negative, that's my point. If something's not negative, if there's no real downside, why do you have to change it?
But why would you have it if they don't serve any purpose?
Because I would say they're not harming
That would be
anyone.
like if you had a fucking switch on the wall that literally did nothing.
You're asking the wrong house here, my friend.
And you could easily.
It was
remove
causing
it.
no trouble.
It's like, but you could easily remove it.
No.
Why would you have it?
That's where you're being disingenuous.
Okay, because you
it
can't
would not be
easily
easily removed.
No, it wouldn't
that
be
is
easily
not
removed. It's
a
not a fair
analogy.
comparison.
No.
But it's like, but why? Let's say you design the house even.
Yeah.
Because we're designing our future.
Yeah.
Is what we're doing now. We're either saying we stick with the monarchy, or we.
Well, to be honest, that
it.
conversation's
And
not
it
really
might be-
happening, is it?
It might be 100 years down the line. It might be 50. But we're designing our future.
Yeah.
So let's say you're designing a house, and you drew up the plans. You showed me the plans. I went, what
Well,
does
you're
that
not going
switch?
to add in random
What does
light
that switch
switches,
do?
are you?
But that's my point.
Yeah.
So why would
But
you
we're
have
not
it?
currently redesigning the
But
political
why would you
system,
have it?
are we?
No, we're not redesigning the. But I'm saying we should. I'm saying we should abolish the monarchy, and we should just. It doesn't.
The
It serves
thing
no
is, I
purpose.
would quite happily redo our political system, but there's, for me, still no logical. It could be presented. There could be stuff that comes out and not.
Just why they shouldn't be
But
involved
as
in
it
state.
stands, I couldn't. There's no logical reason for me where if we were redesigning the political system, where you said, well, the monarchy absolutely
me,
has to go.
Ideologically, they shouldn't be involved in state in any way. It should be matters of state, and that should be separate.
But again, that's all because they are the head of state, so they have to be oppressed.
And it's all, but it's all historical. It's all tradition. That's
Yes.
all it is.
Yes, it is.
That's
You're
all it is.
absolutely right.
And there's
That
we
is
shouldn't keep
all
things
of it.
just because they're traditional.
But again, I would just take you back to they're not like. What's the negative?
Yeah, but what's the point of them?
But what's the negative?
But what's the point?
You're creating a negative because you're creating a negative.
All I'm doing is asking a question. What's the point?
Tradition, Jake.
And I don't
And that's
care for tradition.
No, but that will vary person to person, isn't it? Whether you care about tradition or not.
Tradition is there to be changed.
Yes, I would agree with you. And if we decide as a society that the monarchy is no longer something that represents us, and we decide we want to abolish it, fair enough.
If we stick to tradition, what a bleak
But I
existence
don't
it'd be
think
for
we
a lot
should
of
be
people in this
kicking them out of
country.
Buckingham Palace just because of we don't like tradition.
We look at marriage. Are you saying same-sex couples shouldn't be allowed to marry because traditionally they weren't?
No.
So there you go.
Again, that's a very different
I
situation.
don't think it is. I think the argument against it is just because for many people was just because traditionally that's how it was done. It's the same for the state and the church, for the monarchy. It's like, well, that's how it's done. It's like, so what? Doesn't mean it has to be done like that.
Yeah, but
That's where I stand anyway.
Yeah, but I feel like talking about same-sex marriage, that's more of a moral issue for me. Like, there's no reason why to.
But the argument
same-sex
against
people
it is a
shouldn't be.
traditional argument.
Yeah, but that was because for a long time, for some reason, people saw it as immoral. That's not right.
But
It's
like
wrong.
traditionally that was like, well,
That's people's ignorance.
I'm just saying. I think that's where I stand. Is we're only all the purpose it serves, and all of its places in all the roles it plays across society are because traditionally it has played those roles, and
Yeah.
I don't think they serve a point or a purpose. I think we're obviously we're just at different poles on there. We're just at different positions on this. It's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to win you round. You're not going to win me round.
No, but I do think if anyone wants to see how much we've grown and changed, there is an opportunity to go back and listen to an episode we did as a season opener. I think it was season 3 or season 1. No, we did a Royalist. Should the Royals exist?
Did we?
Yeah, we
don't
opened
even
season
remember
1 or
that
season 3 or season 4 with it.
I don't remember us disagreeing like this, though.
No, I don't remember us disagreeing like this.
No. But no, fair enough.
But there you go.
Yeah.
And I think if people want to tell us what they think about us, and
do you know what? It sort of checks out that you're a Republican, you're left-leaning and all about redistributing wealth, which I am as well.
Just not my wealth.
But what do you think about? There's been a lot of calls since she's passed away for her to give, or for the royal family to give back any jewels that were taken by imperialist
I think it would be the most
means,
respectful thing to do.
Part of me's like, no, fuck them.
It's like, but have you ever seen? I mean, you must have said the
Maybe
James,
I'm more nationalistic than I
have you
remember.
seen the James Acaster bit?
No.
where he talks about, and he sort of goes, a few hundred years ago, England sort of went out and stay with me. I know this sounds ridiculous. They robbed everyone in the world, and he's like, and then they came back and they put all your stuff in a little glass case for everyone to see, and it's not like they don't know that it's yours or how important it is to your people, because they've got a little plaque that tells you how important it is to your people. He said, and then all these countries went back and went, can we have our stuff back? And they went, no, we're not done looking at it.
Yeah, but again, what I would say, like I can.
It's a very good bit, by the way. If you ever see it, it's a fantastic bit. You should
laugh.
look it up. It's a really funny bit. He does it so well.
I don't think even if the monarchy wanted to give everything back, that the government would let them.
No, but I think it is a good start. I think it would be a very respectful thing to show that the world. I mean, like you've said, we talked about reputation. England has the UK has an absolutely battered reputation over the last 5 or 6 years.
I don't know if the monarchy does though.
I think it'd be fun,
it's
mate.
been damaged.
Andrew did a lot of damage to that monarchy, to that reputation.
Yeah, but in general, that's not been the message.
Suddenly
since
they
she's
went
passed
from
away.
but not from the mainstream media, but it has from a lot of.
Yeah, and I don't know
from
if
the
that's
people.
necessary. Like, it's very
In the
difficult
media-
to say what you would do in that situation if you were her.
In the media, Andrew hasn't been mentioned once.
No.
Certainly not the allegations or anything
Nor
like
do
that.
I think it should be.
In discussions with people
I think it can
that
be
I've
in the
been
future.
having or that I've either overheard, Andrew has come up. What the people are talking about, and not necessarily what the media is talking about in that regard. And I think the people are talking about Prince Andrew.
I think definitely some people will be, yeah.
And for me, suddenly they went to being like, "Oh, they're just a church. It's just Catholicism all over again. Let's hide, rich, powerful men doing whatever the fuck they want, abusing their positions of power, and then don't matter. We'll
And
hide
get
it all
away
from the
with it.
top. Yeah,
But we agree that was handled incredibly poorly.
shouldn't have done it.
What?
He shouldn't have done it, should he?
Well, no, obviously not. But we would. I meant the aftermath.
Yeah, it was horrendous. But anyway, and he's back in.
Yeah,
Back in the royal duties now.
But that's only because of your favourite word, tradition.
Tradition. I think that's the difference between a brother's relationship and a relationship between a mother and a son.
Yeah.
I think if it was his son, for example, if tradition said William takes that role and William was the sex
he will
offender,
lose the position he currently holds because it's to do with the line of succession. As soon as William's boys and girl are, I feel like I said that right.
Yeah.
His children are of age, they'll be a part of the, because it's basically, he's a councillor of state, and I looked this up. I can actually, I took a screenshot of it so I can
be factual.
pad for a second, please, Jake.
Sure. So, how do we start about the monarchy? Well, the monarchy goes all the way
Right,
back. The
I'm
first
ready.
person to be buried was King
I'm
Harold
ready.
at Westminster Abbey. Sure, go back.
Councillors of state are the monarch's spouse and the
1040,
next
by the
4
way.
people in the line of succession who meet the following specifications. They must be British subjects of full age, 21 years or 18 years for the heir apparent and the presumptive,
Probably a bit too old for Andrew.
who are the domiciled in the, and definitely too young for Leonardo DiCaprio.
I love the DiCaprio thing.
Who are domiciled in the United Kingdom and not disqualified from being monarch. During a regency, the next 4 eligible people in the line of succession after the regent and the monarch's spouse may be councillors, and their job is very simple. If the king is indisposed or unable medically or for whatever reason to carry out his duties, he will write these regent letters which will give them instruction on what they're meant to do.
Which, let's be honest, I mean, imagine if Andrew turned up to do official royal duties.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be great.
It would not be good.
It would not be good. And that's where I have said I think the monarchy needs to update things and change the way it does things, because I don't think we should be in a world where he is allowed to serve on a council for the king, but it's a situation where...
No, I think tradition's serving us poorly on the monarchy front.
Yeah,
Obviously,
but
that's how I feel.
That is their fault, and I've said I think they need to, and I think they missed out with Meghan. I think it was a huge opportunity to change things up and be more relevant. And I said to you in our text exchange that I can see a world where they're not around anymore because they won't update. And if that happens, it happens.
And as we said, the funny thing is that we've sat here and we've discussed, well, many things. We've discussed the monarchy predominantly and the Queen. John, just play it one last. I know we should play it at the end.
We'll
we should
play
play it
that
at the end.
out.
But in that meantime, it's only been a couple of weeks. But we've had yet to been able to sit down and discuss the fact that Liz Truss is our new Prime Minister, and that she saw Boris's absolutely shambolic cabinet as a challenge to somehow make a worse one.
Well, the thing is...
I mean, Suella Braverman's in it.
What Joe Lycett said
We haven't even discussed Joe Lycett.
What Joe Lycett said was absolutely true, that some would say we are left with the absolute dregs of what the Conservatives had to offer, and Liz Truss is the backwash of that. And she's had to get people that are basically as far away from Boris Johnson as you could possibly be. She's had to appoint people. And I think she's definitely gone for a more female and diverse-centric
They had to. It's the
cabinet.
only chance they have of a next general election by being able to say
and
we're
to be
more
honest,
progressive
I'm all
than
for
Labour.
it actually in that respect. But yeah, they're not the most impressive people in the world, and I don't feel. I mean, I've said I don't feel very optimistic about going forward. My only hope is that, and I don't have any real hope in it because I don't have a lot of faith in our general public anymore. In that I can trust them to do the right thing when the next election comes around.
I haven't talked about the fact that Liz Truss walks like a fucking robot dinosaur.
Yeah,
During this funeral stuff.
How anyone could watch her and feel, I feel confident.
And that, like
But although, saying that, my mum walked into the room one day and said, I think Liz Truss will surprise us. And I was like, I think you're right.
I think you will, yeah, I think you're right. I don't
but
think...
she was saying it for a completely different reason.
I don't think my expectations are low enough.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm very much of the mindset with a lot of things like this. I have zero expectations. Anything positive that's done will be a benefit, and anything else won't be a surprise. Like after Boris Johnson, I don't know what a government could do to make me gasp and clutch my pearls.
I daren't ask the questions because I know that Liz Truss will have the answers. It's probably the only question.
Well, she's made a good start, getting rid of bankers' caps on their bonuses and fracking.
What I would say, lighten it up at the end. What are you doing this weekend?
What am I doing this weekend?
Yeah, what are you doing after recording this?
I don't know. What are you pointing to?
I'll tell you what I'm doing.
I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
Talking about? Well done, my sir. My good man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What are you doing next weekend?
I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
What are you doing this weekend, Jake?
I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
I love how much that entertains you.
You know, to be honest, I think you've overused that. And if anything, I would say
that is a disgrace.
And that's how I feel about your views on the monarchy.
That speech, by the way, that's from the cheese speech. The best,
Yeah,
the best speech
we
I've ever seen.
import
It's so good.
2/3 of our cheese. Long pause.
That is a disgrace.
And you can see the audience are going, are we meant to clap? Like, is
Yeah.
do we have to clap? And there's like this, a few start doing it, and she's just like, yes, okay, got the applause, got the applause.
Come on, dickheads.
Oh, it's so good. And yeah, we haven't discussed that. We also haven't discussed
Well,
Joe
we'll have
Lycett.
to
The whole Joe Lycett shut the
I
country
think
down by just being
we'll,
sarcastic.
I love Joe Lycett, and I think
Yeah,
we'll
I'm a
have
big
to,
fan.
because I think we're coming to our limit on Jake's amount of time he's willing to do a record for.
I mean, definitely, especially on the Queen. No offense.
No, I think we've done quite well, though, to be fair. I mean, we went on a few tangents there, but it wouldn't be crossing swords if we didn't. And I think we've had another high level of disagreement, and it'll be quite entertaining for the listeners.
I think so. Where can they tell us if they agree or disagree with us?
I knew you'd ask me that question. You can find us on Twitter at Swords Crossing, on Facebook. Just search Crossing Swords, or go on Tara Strong's Facebook page. She loves tagging us.
She's a big fan.
You can also find us on Instagram at crossingswords_podcast. And then, if you really, really want to talk to us, you can email us at crossingswords19@gmail.com.
Yep.
And it will also be on the screen. And we put shit in our links to the episodes on YouTube and on all your podcast
platforms. Watch it on YouTube. It's always good.
Yeah. So, yeah, get listening, get sharing, get liking. And we're going to sign off, I think.
It's the only way we should.
With especially with how Jake feels about the monarchy. We'll play it now and we'll say goodbye.
King. King. King.
All right, see you later, guys.